Hi, my name is Suzanne Taylor. I'm part of the Public Policy and Internet Governance team at the RIPE NCC, and I'm going to walk you through the history of how the RIPE NCC got involved in the public policy-making process around one of the EU's legislative proposals. In December 2020, the European Commission came out with a proposed update to the Directive on Security of Network and Information Systems, known as NIS2. The original NIS directive was the first piece of EU-wide cybersecurity legislation. It laid out security requirements and incident reporting obligations for digital service providers and operators of essential services. But it left it up to each EU member state to define which operators would be included in its scope. As you might imagine, there was a lot of divergence in how each member state did this. And so just a few years later, the European Commission decided it needed to make this more explicit to ensure better consistency across the European Union. This time, the NIS2 directive explicitly included root name server operators. Now, you may not know it, but the RIPE NCC runs KRoot, one of the world's 13 root name servers. These are the name servers that form the backbone of the DNS, the domain name system. So admittedly, they are an important piece of internet infrastructure. But the RIPE NCC didn't think it was a good idea to include the root name servers in the updated NIS2 directive, for three main reasons that I'll explain. First, we worried about overreach, because the directive would apply to all root name servers operating within the EU, regardless of where the operator was based. This was important because root name servers operate via an anycast system, which means local copies of the root name servers are placed all over the world in order to provide redundancy. Several root name servers are run by US government entities with local copies in the EU. So the directive, as it was originally proposed, would have applied to a foreign government. Second, we believe that creating this kind of extraterritorial legislation could lead other governments to reciprocate, and that more and more burdensome rules could end up falling on root name server operators in the EU. We worried that those operators might decide it simply wasn't worth it, and that eventually there would be fewer operators willing to provide services in the EU, which ultimately would have hurt, rather than enhance, the domain name system's resiliency, reliability, and security. And third, we felt that subjecting the domain name system's functioning to government oversight would go against the 2016 IANA stewardship transition and the multi-stakeholder approach to internet governance. So for these reasons, the RIPE NCC explicitly asked that root name servers be excluded from the directive scope. We responded to the open consultation that was held by the European Commission, and we also spoke directly with members of the European Parliament to explain our concerns and make our request. And I'm happy to report that the final text of the directive explicitly exempts root name servers. This was a huge success for the RIPE NCC and for the European internet community. But I should point out that being able to make such a fundamental change to an existing proposal is pretty rare. Most of the time, our job focuses more on maintaining relationships with policymakers so that they know the RIPE NCC is a source of technical expertise they can rely on to help them create the most technically sound policy possible, with the fewest consequences for the internet's core functions. Still, we at the RIPE NCC were really pleased to have played a part in shifting the focus of the NIS2 directive. And I hope this is a good example of the role that the technical community can play in helping to shape policy for the better.